Hey, and welcome into the next episode of the Next Guy Up podcast. We are live on a Friday for the weekend preview. I am joined, as always, by Mason to
Yeah.
my left on the screen, and our boy Zachy D. He is in Chicago this week training for work. So we just thought, we're the Next Guy Up podcast. We're a man down. We got to call somebody up, and who better than J-Bo Coco, our number one fan, Mason's
Yeah.
number one hype man. What is up,
Yeah.
Josh?
What's up, boys? Thanks for having me on. I am officially the first next man up, I guess. So next
Yes,
guy up.
sir.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So now we are 10 episodes without a layoff, but now we have added 11 episodes.
11 episodes.
And now we have added somebody to so that's the opposite of a layoff. So look at us
Yes.
now, Disney. We're coming for you.
Tell me
33 ESPN.
Exactly. Tell me a podcast that's growing like we are. You couldn't. We're adding people left and right, zero layoffs. Business is booming.
We need a math guy. Our math guy isn't here, but if my calculations are correct, I believe that's like a 25 to 33% growth right there in 11 episodes. That's pretty good, boys. That's pretty good.
I'll take it.
So Josh was part of our draft that we talked about last episode. And Josh, go ahead and give us just your overall thoughts on, we did the big board instead of going with the ESPN computers. We did the big board, but also just your overall, how did you feel about the draft?
I felt really good about my draft. I had two quarterbacks in the middle of the draft that I was absolutely looking to secure. I didn't want to spend a high pick on one of the big three or four in our league because Trevor Lawrence went as a part of the big three. I can't remember where he went, but I believe there was some sweating going on there, thinking he might not make it back around. And he is probably correct. People definitely would take him just to spite 10.
Yep.
So I feel really good about my team. I love the big board. Felt like we were in the big war room.
Yeah.
They've always got those magnets where they slap people around and do this and do that. So that was fun. And it's always fun yelling at people when they can't get their pick in on time. So
Zach.
We did that a lot, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Is that the first time you ever did that type of draft, Josh?
Man, I've been playing fantasy football like 15 years, and that is the first big board draft that I have ever done, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so much fun. So I look forward to hopefully doing it again next year. Sorry to the Durham boys, but we got to do what we got to
do. I think it would help if we had an updated best available players left for some of the ones that wanted something like that. So nah. We can tweak it a little bit if needed.
That's helping people out that don't need it. I enjoyed yelling at Zach when he was trying to draft someone who got drafted 3 rounds ago, and seeing how
he run with the big dogs.
Yeah, and getting Robert all riled up. But we've got a great episode for you guys today. We are going to be doing a Guess That Stat with Mason. We're also going to have a sports press release where Josh and Mason have cooked up some very juicy topics I can't wait to dive into. And then we're going to wrap up, as always, on these Fridays episodes till the season starts. We've got some futures for everybody. Now, this will be the last week of Friday Futures because next week we will be doing a season preview of NFL and college where we're going to give out some division winners, Super Bowl winners, and the college playoff prediction. So looking forward to that next week. We'll be getting Josh's thoughts on that today since he will not be here next week. But let's go ahead and dive on into the Guess That Stat, Mason.
All right. So my Guess That Stat is an NFL Guess That Stat is a quarterback stat. And Tinsley, while you're thinking of your record, Josh, we're going to keep up with these. I want to see how well you do with this. I have this as a level 4.
Ooh,
I think it's pretty tough, but I don't think it's impossible. So we'll see how this goes. But my question is, Patrick Mahomes was the only quarterback last year to throw over 5,000 yards and is the betting favorite at plus 140 to do it again. We have 9 different quarterbacks to throw over 5,000 yards in a season. Out of this list, which quarterback has not had that milestone? I came up with this all on my own because I wanted to see, they have in DraftKings, they have a bet to get 5,000, and all of them are huge plus money. Except for I was like, why is Patrick Mahomes? And I was like, oh yeah, he did hit that last year.
Yeah.
It's like, how many have? And it's wild that 9 different quarterbacks have done it. So here's the list of them. Is it A, Matthew Stafford, B, Jameis Winston, C, Dan Marino, D, Matt Ryan, or E, Justin Herbert to not throw for 5,000 yards in a season? So I
Has
got
not thrown for
has
5,000 yards
not
in a
thrown
season.
for
One of
5,000.
them hasn't, but the rest
Yes.
have.
Mm.
The rest have.
Okay. So
Oh, I'm 8-2, by the way. I went 1-1 last week. Your college one got me, but
Okay,
I
8-2,
nailed
perfect.
8-2.
So let me go over it one more time just for the audience and for you guys while you're thinking. 5,000, which one has not? Matthew Stafford, Jameis Winston, Dan Marino, Matt Ryan, Justin Herbert.
So I definitely think Justin Herbert threw for over 5,000.
I think he did his
Like,
rookie year.
Yeah, his rookie year went off. And I want to say Winston might have done that as well in his first year or two.
They want you to say Marino, but he was throwing for so many yards back in the day. I do think he probably hit it. I remember when Stafford did it because he was on my fantasy team. I'm going to go Jameis Winston.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Matt Ryan.
And the answer is D, Matt Ryan.
Let's go. 1-0, baby.
I wanted to find somebody that had it so close. I think his was like 4,900 and something. So he almost had it, but he has not had a 5,000 yard season. And Josh comes in right off the bat. First episode.
Next guy up, baby.
It was 11-4. 11, a level 4 question there. So that is my.
I thought Matty Ice would have had that.
Who has the most 5,000 yard throwing seasons? I'm not even going to give this won't count. I'm just curious.
Stafford. It has to be Stafford. No,
it's not out of this list. Just all together.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm Peyton or Brady.
Drew Brees.
Obvious. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. They threw the ball a lot.
Check down Brees. Check down Brees.
Yeah. So that is my guess that stat question. What'd you think about that one, guys? That was a pretty good one.
That was a good one. I love when you give us the multiple choice.
Yeah.
Especially when I throw in you always hear A, B, C, and D. You never hear that E or F, but I like to just throw those in just to throw you a little bit of a curveball. So, all right. So our next segment is going to be the sports press release, and I can't wait. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in with Josh's press release. I did want to say one thing about some of the betting. Some of the bets that I've taken, and Josh has been kind of a hater on those. He has in our document here Josh's thoughts on Mason. He put that in there, so I'm curious. We kind of overlooked that, but I'm so curious to learn about what your thoughts are of me, Josh.
We will save that. Okay, we'll save that for the end. Give the people something to look forward to.
That's a good little teaser.
Ooh, That's a professional move right there from Josh. He's teasing it and making them stick to the end. This guy's a pro.
It's going to be worth it.
Oh, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it. Absolutely. But yeah, so the press release took me a couple days. I was trying to figure out where in the world I was going to go with this. And then, I think there were some big news this week in regards to a couple top 5 picks that have ultimately completely been busts. Corey Davis retires, former Titan, now Jet retires. It was top 5 pick by the Tennessee Titans. Played 2 seasons in New York, but he could catch it, but he couldn't cut it. He was the guy for a long time, and I think if he had been able to stay healthy, maybe had a little bit more help, maybe he could have survived, but he just couldn't hang on, literally. And then Trey Lance, man, what in the world has happened to Trey Lance? He gets knocked down to number 3 on the depth chart. Sam Darnold's going to be the backup now behind Purdy. What in the world? This team, first of all, if I told you that a team was going to mortgage their future with 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick, And then I told you that just a few years later, they're looking to cut or release this guy, and it's the most important position. Do you think they still have a head coach?
Nope. That GM and head coach anywhere else is fired,
Gone.
but they stumbled upon Brock Purdy, who
When
is just like perfect for this Kyle Shanahan offense. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan really wanted Trey Lance. There were a lot of rumors in that draft that he wanted Mac Jones pretty bad, but John Lynch has the final say as the GM and saw that Trey Lance had the more higher ceiling, I suppose. And that's the thing about Trey Lance. We don't really know. He didn't play a lot in college. He lost his last year with COVID. He never really got a chance in the NFL. He started last year and then had the compound fracture to his ankle, and he's not been able to get the job back. I saw this very interesting stat because, like what you said, the 49ers traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance at number 3 overall. If that wasn't bad enough, here are the next 10 players drafted after Trey Lance: Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Penei Sewell, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. Um,
Shoot.
those are all Pro Bowl players. I mean, Kyle Pitts has had a rocky start to his NFL career. They've had not great quarterback play, but I think he's going to have a great long NFL career. And then Justin Fields, I'm one way or the other on him. I mean, he's a playmaker, but I mean, that has to hurt if you're the 49ers sitting there looking at all those guys.
Are you a Field of Dreams guy?
I'm not.
Oh, embrace the bait. I am. I'm a
Yeah,
big believer.
I'm ready for Mason's list that he has here that we'll get into in a second. But I definitely liked where you're coming out with like the top 5 draft busts. I don't know that we want to, if you can really throw the bust on Trey Lance yet, just because he's not really had a chance. But I don't know that he will get another chance at this rate.
Listen, if you can't cut it, and this is where I'm coming from, I think you kind of hit it just a minute ago. If you can't cut it in that Shanahan offense, if you can't cut it there, you can't cut it anywhere.
Yeah,
Nowhere.
it's the most QB friendly offense in the whole NFL.
Or these guys coming out of small schools, you would think they would come in with chips on their shoulders, but they just, these top 5 small school guys, they've had a hard time sticking around the last few years.
I did want to go back to for the Corey Davis one. That did shock me, his retirement, because I was like, is he going to get lost in the, like, why? What's the reason unless he really would got lost in that depth chart to like wide receiver 4 or 5? And I got it pulled up here. So we got Garrett Wilson, obviously. So, and first of all, this is according to like the ESPN depth chart. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, Mecole Hardman are all the starters. This is updated. And then you got Randall Cobb, Jason Brownlee, which I've heard he's kind of turned some heads at like preseason and like training camp and stuff. And then Alex Eckerson, which I don't even know who that is. So I was thinking, would he really just get lost where he would just be irrelevant in fantasy, irrelevant on that team? Like he should have had a chance, right? Or I would have thought there had to be something with this. Is it just the injuries?
I think the injuries, there were some reports that came out Monday that Corey Davis was being shopped as like you know what they do when they cut players, which they have to cut down the rosters on Tuesday. They'll shop them around like, we're going to cut this guy. If you want to have a chance at him for sure, then give us a 6th-round pick or something like that. And I don't think he wanted to go through that. I think he's dealing with some lingering injuries. He's trying to get to 100%, and he didn't want to have to hop on a team this late into the thing because he's going to be behind in the playbook and things like that. So I just think I wouldn't surprise me if he took the year off, got healthy, and made a comeback because he's not like old. He's still a relatively young player.
That's what I was thinking. That
6 seasons.
Me.
Yeah, 6 seasons. And he came up with an Instagram post where he cites that he's been seriously considering stepping away from football for some time now. So, I don't know. I think more and more you see these guys in the next generation that are just like, man, it's not worth it anymore. He says he's got 2 kids and a wife and he wants to go home. So, hey,
If
I
you're making
commend
that
that
much as a
decision, but
football
Yeah.
player, yeah, you could literally not work for the rest of your life and take care of your body. Like you're so beat up in the NFL, and you don't have to work the rest of your life if you're making that top of money, top wide receiver. I'm not sure what his contract was, but I'm sure he'll probably be set.
Yeah,
Or he could get,
top 5 draft pick. So those contracts are pretty nice.
yeah. But I would just want to touch back on that before we kind of moved on and lost that completely,
Yeah.
because that was like a shocker to me. But where do you think Trey Lance is going to end up? Is he going to just stay as that third, or are they going to shop him around? What are you guys thinking?
I think they got to shop him. I don't know what they're going to get for him, but I think they got to at least try to get a third back. I don't know that they will. I think the best spots for him are, Atlanta, Miami, Tampa Bay. But he's coming in somewhere to be the backup in hopes that Atlanta Ritter doesn't pan out, or in Miami. Not that we wish injuries, but that Tua hasn't learned to fall.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, who knows what in the world's going on down there.
Oh, it's the Baker show, baby.
Did you hear that? This was almost my press release. Did you hear that story about Baker and his family, like doing him dirty? Like
Yeah,
he
his dad
invested.
and brother are working for the investment company that is in charge of his money, and he's now suing them because they mismanaged all his money. So that's tough. It's a tough look. Um, that's just wild. But
He
That is
has to
wild.
have a lot of money with the amount of commercials that he did. I
all
think
those
I
Hulu
saw
commercials.
I saw him more in my commercials than I did on the
Yes.
football field.
I definitely agree. I do think the 49ers, being the organization that they are, they're not just going to sit on a young quarterback who could get them something. I think they could get a third round pick. I definitely see where the Falcons might be interested if Ritter is not, which I don't think he's going to be, like the guy. Or I'm going to throw a surprise team at everybody. I'm going to throw the Vikings out there. They can walk away from Kirk Cousins after this year with no money against the cap. They don't have a young quarterback behind him. They could maybe throw a 4th or 5th round pick to the 49ers. Just like, listen, I mean, you got to get something for him, right? You're not going to start him because you got Purdy. Sam Darnold's a capable backup who, honestly, if Sam Darnold gets in that system and plays, Sam Darnold will win football games for the 49ers.
I think he's
It's
better than
destined to
Purdy.
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it would not surprise me if Sam Darnold wins a playoff game for the 49ers this year. Like I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever. So I definitely agree that I think Trey Lance will be on the move. He didn't show up to practice today after it was announced that he was the third string quarterback. He was a no show. So
Interesting.
I think he's gone,
Oh,
which
he's
is
done.
it's just wild. Where he's going into year 3 and he's maybe started a handful of games for him, and they put all their eggs in that basket. And yet they're still a Super Bowl contender. I mean, their window's still wide open. They're the second favorite to come out of the NFC.
Can you think of any other team that has done this where you don't even know what they're starting? They did this with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they didn't know, like, he was staying away from the team, and it was going to be the Trey Lance show. And they were still probably like the over under was probably over 10 wins, and they were a playoff contending team that was, like you said, Super Bowl. Like they had a chance at a Super Bowl. Can you think of any other team that you could not tell me who the quarterback was going to be, and I'd still be like, oh yeah, they could win it all? Because that's what we're looking at. They've had so many different options of quarterback, and we're still talking about them being a playoff team, which is wild to me. If you said that about any other team, I'd be like, okay, then no, they're not going to be a playoff team. But with this team, it does not matter who's out there; they can still win games.
Yep.
It's super impressive. I think it's just the system of Shanahan, man.
Yeah. McCaffrey and Debo Samuel and some of those
Ayuk,
weapons out there.
Kittle, and
Yeah.
Studs
yeah,
everywhere. Studs everywhere.
everywhere.
So we're heading into the week 3 of preseason, which means that we have 1 week left until after that. We will have
15
regular season.
days from now. Yep, we will have
Let's
football.
go. We will have NFL football. So my question is that we've had some pretty impressive performances out on the football field these last 2 weeks. So going into the third week, I'm curious to see what happens with depth charts and if some people are moving players around on their fantasy team because they got hyped up during the preseason or during training camp. So my question to everybody out there and to the guys and to myself is these players that I list off, I'm going to give the player, I'm going to give the stat, and we're going to talk about their performance. And then we're going to buy, sell, or the last one will be who cares. So the first one we're going to start with is Justin Fields. For Josh and I, Titans fans over here, we watched him for a couple series in that first preseason game. He did not play last preseason game, but everybody was losing their mind on social media for the smallest sample size on planet Earth, in my opinion, which was 3 for 3, 129 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Can't miss, bro.
Can't miss 100% on 3 attempts. And I'm thinking everybody needs to calm it down here. But what do you all think? Buy, sell, or who cares? Go ahead, Tins. Buy? You're gonna buy?
I snapped him. I'll let you do your thing. Then I'll come in at the end.
All right. So here's the thing. Don't know if you looked at the air yardage of those passes. The first one had a air yardage of 1 yard to DJ Moore, and then he busted it for a touchdown. Second one had an air yardage of 2. Now this is how long the ball goes into the air and then it's caught. So you're looking at 2 bubble screens that got busted for long touchdowns in the preseason. I don't want to come off as like a Justin Fields hater because I would have been happy to draft him if Trevor Lawrence wasn't there. Because that whole season I thought that we won 1 game and I thought, great, we're going to get second overall because the Jets aren't going to win any games. Then they messed up. I was ready to take Justin Fields, and I'd be standing on the table for him because he is a playmaker, but I just don't trust him as a passer. It's a common thing with Ohio State quarterbacks that they're not great NFL passers because it's a lot different trying to throw to an open man in the NFL as it is in college. Ohio State is receivers that just they're crazy and they're going to get open by 5-6 yards every play. Not in the NFL, it doesn't happen. So I'm not as big on Justin Fields. That stat line I'm selling. I don't care. We'll see what happens not week 1 of the preseason.
You know what, ladies and gentlemen? He had stats upon stats. Those are free. Actually, they were brought to you by Mountain Dew Kickstart. Those stats were. But that's my drink of choice to get me through this podcast. But those are good stats, Tins. I didn't even have those. That was on my press release, and he's over here backing me up. But Josh, what do you think? Buy, sell, who cares?
I got stats for you.
He's got stats. All right, let's go.
Mr. Check Down Breeze threw for how many 5,000 yard seasons? The most? Is that what we determine? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Dude, it's the scheme, it's the fit, it's the read. And I'll say this, you didn't know this about me. Some of you did, some of you didn't, but you're about to know. This segment's brought to you by Sleeper Fantasy Football, okay? Because your boy plays in a few dynasty leagues.
Just a few. I might be in a few of them with him.
Just a few. And I just want you to know your boy spent an entire offseason with the number 2 pick trying to figure out, okay, do I want Trevor Lawrence or do I want Justin Fields? And by the end of my film study, after I looked at windows that they were throwing into, I'm telling you, bro, I spent months watching game film. Looked at all 22. I watched all of them. And it was 1A, 1B for me. And might I even say, just in fantasy football, the world of rushing reigns king. And so it was 1A, 1B for me. I'm a big Fields guy. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it all.
Yep, all that running. What did it do for his team last year? Oh, they just had the worst record in the NFL. That's all.
He had to run. He didn't have anybody to throw to.
I'm curious to see how DJ Moore is going to... But we got to move on because I got several others here.
Good.
Someone I am excited about... Oh, by the way, I'm going to... Who cares? Because I want to wait and see him actually do it in a game. I know we're like, well, it's preseason, Mason. Are you going to say that for all of them? No, I'm not. But for him, he had 3. It was 3 for 3. I mean, come on. And he said check down. So who cares right now? If he has those stats in real games against starters and he has more than 3 passes, then I'll start paying attention. Sam Howell. I'm a huge fan of this guy. I really hope the Commanders have been on the struggle bus with quarterbacks. And I don't know why. They're a fun team to root for. I wish that they had a better team name, to be honest. I felt like they really blew it. That's a subject for a different time. But after Washington football team, I was like, okay, they can't mess this up. And I felt like they messed it up. But Sam Howell, 265 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 games total. Buy, sell, who cares? Go ahead, Josh. You get this one.
I'm going to buy it. Fun fact
Okay.
for you. I don't remember the exact number, but I'm pretty sure Sam Howell, somebody look this up. I'll look this up in a minute while Tens is talking. But I think he actually had more rushing yards in his last year in college than Anthony Richardson's had in
Oh,
his
look at
last year of
that.
college. So I'll
Wow.
look that up in a minute. But I think he's way more accurate. I think he comes from that great offense there in North Carolina. Drake May's about to be a dude this year. And
They kind of seem
Look,
similar, right? A little
yeah,
bit.
and we like our Cookful boys, and Mac Brown's one of those, so we got to cheer him on.
no, I'm definitely buying Sam Howell. I was very high on him in college. He would have been a first round draft pick had he come out his junior year. He would have been a high draft pick. He's everything Baker Mayfield wishes he was. He has all the arm talent. He's athletic enough, especially at the NFL level. He was a good runner in college. He lost all his weapons. He lost his top 3 receivers and both running backs, and then decided to come back for his senior year. And I don't know why, because all he did was hurt his draft stock. I think he fell into an okay situation with Washington. They do have good weapons. And Eric Bieniemy is the new offensive coordinator. I really do see there's a path for Washington to have a good year, and I think Sam Howell could be that guy for them.
All right. I'm also buying on that one. So we're all across the board
Ooh,
here.
we're buying stock.
We are buying stock. The next Darren Sproles listed at 5'5" is Deuce Vaughn. He's been turning heads at preseason. He's been turning head. He's a shifty guy and on the training camp, playing on the fields there. He had 64 yards and 2 touchdowns in his 2 games. What do y'all think? Go ahead, Tens.
I just can't. I don't
Shifty
know.
guy, though. Shifty guy.
That's what they say about guys that aren't fast, that are just they move around a lot. Like he does a lot of wasted shakes, and he's playing against 3rd string guys in the preseason. I don't know I don't care. He's not important to me.
Our first I Don't Care brought to you by Reese's. All right, Josh, what do you think?
So is this buy, sell, or who cares? Is that what
Buy,
we're doing
sell,
here?
yes.
Yeah.
Buy, sell, or who cares?
I'm going to sell because I think that somebody's buying this hype, but it's not me. I do care because I think I get something out of him. But, dude, 5'5" is way too small. He's too skinny. Sproles was a stud. But, man, he had some strength. I think of, like, the muscle hamster. Tens knows who I'm talking about. That's this guy.
Doug Martin. Oh, Muscle Hamster is Doug Martin. Pocket Hercules is Maurice Jones-Drew.
There you go, MJD.
That guy.
Those 3 running backs that we just talked about all had one thing in common. They were 5'8" and they had big old butts and thighs. Like they were powerhouses. Deuce Vaughn is a skinny 5'5" guy. It's not going to work, man. It's just
Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that for the YouTube, please.
That's going straight to the TikTok.
Please, thick. Them boys be thick. And Deuce just isn't that. It's a great moment. A call from his dad. I think he'll be a good spell guy, but he can't maintain this. He can't. There's too many carries in a season for him. Like he's not going to be that guy.
I could see him being like a dump off, like kind of receiving back in a sense.
Yeah,
maybe
like little trick plays, but
trick play guy perhaps.
5
Darren
touches a
Sproles
game.
was Darren Sproles was 5'6", by the way, so they're right there in height. Speaking of running backs, the next guy, me and Josh know who this guy is because our team drafted him, and that is Tajay Spears with 13 carries, 89 yards, and 1 touchdown. What do you think, Josh?
Who cares?
Who
Who
cares?
cares? The king sits on the throne, okay? And that's all that matters. This guy doesn't have an ACL. He's not going to get any playing time unless the king is down, at which point, who cares anymore? Who cares?
So if running backs are limited, and wait, hold on. How much longer do you think he's got in the tank, King Henry?
No, he's a physical freak. He's
So
got,
10 more years.
I think he's
What?
got two or three
Tennessee.
solid years.
Okay. So at that point, Tajay Spears will probably already be. Well,
I'm
Tajay
saying
Spears will. He's
zero.
he's saying
Oh,
0.
Derrick Henry falls
Yikes.
off the cliff this year.
fun
Was
fact: last time he had a true number one receiver and a tight end, he went for 2,000 yards.
Mm.
Good thing your tight end went off the practice field yesterday and didn't practice today, and your number one wide receiver is an old man. How's that worked out for the Titans the last 3 times they've tried to sign an old man at wide receiver?
We're not going to talk about that. I got 15 days to figure it out.
So I take it you're selling tens, or you? Who
uh,
cares?
he's a Titan, so yeah, I'm selling. I have a few rules in life, and one of them is I don't mess with Titans players. I'm sorry, I don't draft them. I've never drafted a Titans player for any of my fantasy teams, and I never will. I've never bet on the Tennessee Titans, and I never
Yeah.
will.
I gave tens money line for the Titans, which it hit last preseason game, and he didn't take it, obviously. So
I
that's
was
fine.
like,
You
sorry.
don't get the money that the Titans made. That's fine because I got it. Who cares?
There's you have
It's
to
plus
stand
money,
for
by the way.
something. You have to stand for something, and I do. And it's that I hate the Titans.
Well, the Titans hate you. So how about that?
I know, and that's fine. I got to be there for both their losses last year.
So I would like to throw something out. I'm gonna go with a sell because Julius Chestnut also has. So here's what I'm talking about. This is gonna be who's playing for number 2. Knock on wood of King Henry, like or contract or whatever. How many years? What's he got going on, Josh? With is
I
it?
think this is contract year.
Yeah.
He's got,
So
I'll look it
yeah,
up.
because I think he has one more, but they moved his money around to where they could cut him for no cap casualty. Like it wouldn't hit the cap next year. He'll never leave. They'll rework it.
So I'll sell it, but I want to keep an eye on like Tajay. Why would you spend a 3rd round pick on Tajay Spears unless you were really wanting to? Was it 3rd round? 3rd round pick?
Yeah, 3rd round.
And you got Julius Chestnut here also performing pretty well. So I'm going to sell. While you're looking that up, Josh, you can just interrupt me whenever. I am going to go with the last player, which I'm sure that
Final
there
year
are
of his
more.
contract.
Okay,
Okay.
Final year of
kind
his
of thought so.
contract, yeah.
So there are more players. I would have listed off like 15 of them, but I wanted to go with somebody that I'm kind of excited for, and that's going to be Tank Dell. Now, he had 5 receptions for 65 yards and a touchdown. You're like, oh, no big deal. But if you think about the situation that they have in Houston and the other wide receivers, I added him on our fantasy team. If he puts on a little more weight, but he has been doing these plays where I'm like, wow, that's a starting wide receiver in the NFL. So I kind of got lost in the snake here. Who went last time first? Josh did. So tens buy or sell, or who cares on Tank Dell?
I'm buying in on Tank Dell. I think he's building a good chemistry with CJ Stroud, which is what you want with a rookie quarterback. They brought in a rookie wide receiver, so they're playing a lot together, get that chemistry down. He's going to be a good slot receiver in the NFL. He's not very big. I don't think he's going to win like 50-50, just go up and go get it balls, but he will be a good safety blanket for CJ Stroud, which is what you want in your rookie year. So I'm buying in on Tank Dell.
Every quarterback, especially those rookies, need a good slot receiver. So if he could really break open there, what do you think, Josh? Buy, sell, who cares?
I'm buying. I think he is the real deal. I think the way he was used in Houston is very similar to the way he will also be used in Houston on a different field. So he gets to hang out close to home. CJ Stroud really wanted him, and I think it's really cool that the GMs is saying, "All right, we're going to go get your guy. Why don't you make the phone call?"
Yeah,
And so,
it's awesome.
building early chemistry. They've got you know what? Some might say shared trauma on certain draft nights because some people slip and fall. They've got a shared win and experience, and I think that foundation could. Not that everything's built on that, but man,
Yeah.
like what a catapulting moment for them. He's the real deal. He reminds me a lot of a Percy Harvin type player, and
That's
he's
good.
super electric. So hopefully he can stay healthy.
So I kind of already teased it, but I'm looking at this depth chart right now. We got Nico Collins, Robert Woods, which how did he perform on the Titans, Josh, if you remember Robert Woods?
I don't remember him doing anything. I'm not even sure if he
Exactly.
played. Bobby Trees wasn't there. He got uprooted.
So he is listed as a starter, but I don't know if it's just because he's a veteran at this point. He's not really done anything to show like he's still got that flash or still got that playmaking ability that he had with the Rams. Noah Brown, he was on the Cowboys last year, and then the second string John Mechie or Mechie,
Mechie.
John Mechie the third, which I'm rooting for after everything with his medical issues, and then Tank Dell and Xavier Hutchinson. So we're looking at kind of an open wide receiver room, in my opinion. So he could kind of just take reins over the whole like starting wide receiver, at least if it's not week 1, week 4, week 5 going into that. So we'll see what happens. But kind of excited about that player for sure. I didn't really know much about him. Sometimes it's just so many college players, and you kind of lose. And then once I started seeing some training camp videos and then preseason stuff, I was like, man, this guy, he's the real deal. So we'll see how that goes. But um, yeah, that is my buy, sell, or who cares for my sports press release.
Sweet. Well, that's going to do it for the press release this week. Now we're going to dive, before we get into our futures, I did want to ask Josh to give us his college football champion and his Super Bowl champion. Because me, Mason, and Zach are going to be doing this pretty in depth next week. But I want to hear what Josh has to say because he's definitely got some takes.
I can't wait, by the way. So excited for this. Go ahead,
I got some
Josh.
takes. I've got some takes, and I'm ready for the criticism, Mason. I'm sure you're going to fade me, and it's well deserved. But we'll see. You know, only time will tell. I looking at this, I think, do I want to go chalk or do I want to go with my gut? And I'm gonna go with my gut kind of guy. I'll ride that thing all the way to the end. Chalk is boring. Chalk is boring, and it tastes
True.
terrible. Nobody likes it. So UGA, sure, they are absolutely dominant. Last 2 years have been some of the most impressive college football teams that I've ever seen with my own two eyes. But they lost a lot last year. They should hold on to that number one spot for a while. Their schedule is cake, though. They don't play anybody until they play Tennessee, and that's going to be the game that defines their season. So if somebody can catch them early, catch them off balance, catch them off guard, then I think, man, they're not going to repeat again. There's no way. So if you stick with the chalk, I think UGA is obviously the odds-on favorite, but no, not here, not today. So I look inside the top 10 and I start thinking, okay, which teams are hungry? Because I think desperation does a lot for a college athlete. And so I think about, okay, what's Saban going to do? They were absolutely embarrassed. Bryce Young put the whole team on his back. Dude should have won the Heisman, but we're not going to go there. It's just my opinion. He was absolutely the most valuable player and the best player in the nation last year. Just my opinion. What are they going to be able to do? Are they going to be able to bounce back? When was the last time Saban had 2 bad years in a row? Not going to happen. Dude's going to be working 23-hour days, burning the midnight oil and some. I think there's a good chance they climb back up there. Clemson, they've finally figured out their quarterback situation. Dabo, he's got to get things back on track, or otherwise, that seat's going to get a little warm. USC, hey, you got a Heisman winner now. What's Caleb Williams going to be able to do? But I think ultimately, you stick with what you know. Stick with the devil that you know, is the saying. And I think Saban and Bama are going to be able to get back up. And that hurts me to say. It really, really hurts me. But I think that's really what's going to happen.
Oof.
I want the Vols to do some things, and I think they got a great shot to do it. But stick with the heritage and the tradition, and winners are forged, and that's a factory that's already been forging.
Yep.
So that's I can't wait to hear what you guys got to say about some NCAA football next week. But I'm ready. I'm ready for some college football to be back in my life. I need it. I don't know about you guys. Are you
I
guys ready
just,
for the season?
I'm
Ready.
I'm gonna be glued to my TV all weekend for. I don't care. It's week 0. I don't
Week
care. I'm gonna
0.
watch Notre Dame blow out Navy. It doesn't matter. I just gotta watch something. I gotta watch some football.
Gotta watch
I
some dudes hit some dudes.
yeah, I
Need it.
definitely yeah. I like that pick with Bama there. I'm not gonna give away too much because I have some things to say on next week's episode that I've been cooking up for like a month now. But definitely like all your points there, except for the whole Georgia thing. They can bump off. They're a bunch of cheaters.
That they are. That they are.
I
So
want.
let me. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I was trying to fact check myself, and I'll have to go back and look, and maybe we can add this in social media or next episode. I'm pretty sure I saw something that the last time a AP number one won the college championship was like 2017 with or something with Alabama, 2017, 2007, something like that. It was a while ago. There's a lot of pressure on these AP number ones. I'm gonna have to look and see what year it was. I know it doesn't happen very often. So I'm gonna try to look it up.
2017,
2017.
Alabama.
And also the back to backs is also there's just so much pressure. So I'm fading. I wish that there's like a bet Georgia versus the field. It's not even worth it to take the field. It's like you would have to bet like $100 to win like 10. It's not even worth it or something like that. But I really do. I just don't see how. And Josh hit the nail on the head when it came to they lost a lot, and then they're having all these higher expectations. So we'll see what happens. But
I mean,
thank you for
Stetson Bennett's
checking
been playing quarterback there for like my entire life, so
that.
he's
You'd be
finally
correct.
graduated. Yeah, he looked good. Hey, he looked good for the Rams the other day. Kind of, I mean, it surprised me, but it kind of didn't at the same time. So, but
You know who
anyways,
feels like they're playing forever, have been playing forever? Say it with me, everybody. Bo
Bo
Nix.
Nix.
I mean, come on now. How? And I actually
Jinx.
looked. He's not even that old, huh? But he just feels like
Jinx.
he's been playing forever.
Yeah.
It's
He's gonna be
crazy.
like 28. I mean, he has to be, right? Like Brandon Whedon. I
Oh
don't know if you
my
guys even know who that is.
For Browns
Oh,
quarterback, baby.
yeah, he's a legend out there with Justin Blackman,
Ooh, good time.
Texas or Oklahoma State.
I got my NFL. I got my NFL
Yeah,
team for you, real
let me
quick.
hear it. Let me hear it.
It's same thing. Chalk or no? Chalk is easy. Chalk is easy. Chiefs and Eagles. Nobody would sweat or stress that, or even think twice about that, except for me. We're not going there. I like my champions. Like I like my razors, and that's with an edge. Okay, boys. I don't know if you guys can tell. I don't like razors that much, and it's because I don't win a whole lot of championships. But they make too much sense. I think I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna go with Niners over the Bills in the Super
Ooh.
Bowl. Yeah, I'm gonna go Niners over the Bills. I think Josh Allen gets the boys over the Chiefs hump. I think the hangover is just too strong this year for the Chiefs. But I think just like with the NCAA teams, I need somebody with some desperation. So I want the Niners because I think everybody on that team has something to prove. You got Mr. Irrelevant, who has now fought off a top 5 picks for a starting job. Wow, that's impressive. And I think he deserves it. Do I think that the offense makes it easy on him? Yes, I absolutely do. Shanahan and that West Coast offense makes it super easy, but he makes the throws and he doesn't turn the ball over. Shanahan, I mean, only thing I got to say there is 28-3, and that's enough for him to get going, put some gas in the tank. CMC, obviously a great player, could win MVP if things break right for him. We talked about that, or you guys talked about that a couple weeks ago. But Debo, where's he going? Ayuk, should he stay? Even that defense, I think the defense is what carries them, and that's why the quarterback play doesn't matter as much. When you've got a dude named Bosa back there just wreaking havoc, it makes it easy. So I think it makes too much sense to me. Return to greatness for the red and gold.
And that Super Bowl prediction was brought to you by Gillette razors.
Yes.
Cut with an edge.
Rookie
Gillette.
mistake.
I like it.
So I will say that I'm not going to give my picks because I will next week. That's a teaser for everybody out there. Keep them wanting more, right? But
Yeah.
but I'm going to say that I heard on just like a sports radio that someone said if you want to make a bet, your best bet is to go with an NFC team because of the road to the Super Bowl compared to the AFC. You have a gauntlet. I mean, we kind of talked about it before, but I mean, I could just say three teams right now, which I know Tens is not high on the Bills, but Bills, Chiefs, not in order, but Bengals. And then there's multiples after that. And it's almost like a roll of the dice on who gets lucky, who has 13 seconds left on the clock, because that's all it took for Mahomes to get back down on the field. I mean, things go switch just like that. And when it comes to NFC, it's an easier road to the Super Bowl. So I like the pick with the NFC team there. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Mason.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I've been pretty hard on you, so to get a compliment from you,
I was thinking maybe I shouldn't, but I'm feeling pretty nice today. I got my kickstart. I'm feeling good. So,
well, speaking of not respecting Mason's picks and being kind of hard on him, we're gonna dive in and wrap up the episode with the Future Fridays. Now, I know I've got one that's not super juicy this week. But let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with Josh right here.
Well, boys, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a chronic fantasy football player. And so I based a lot of my picks off of that. And so I'll give you guys some good juicy picks because I'm thinking, okay, here's some guys that I'm targeting in drafts. I'm trying to keep secret and why. I mean, it's a similar process. And so I got online and started looking up some things, and here's what I got cooked up for you, as Tins would say. I got a not so juicy one cooked up, and then I got a juicy one. And
ready
my,
for it.
Yeah, my juicy one might come with a little bit of controversy, but hopefully not too much. But I'm gonna say this guy is somebody we've already mentioned on this podcast earlier. Somebody who threw for 5,000 yards. And if I told you that somebody who has already thrown for 5,000 yards and has an even better chance to do it now than what they did when they did it, has an over under for touchdowns at 29.5, would you boys say that's a pretty good bet? It's a pretty safe bet.
Seems like it to me.
So the guy I'm talking about here is Justin Herbert. Over 29.5 touchdowns, minus 120. I'll leave the fun math to you boys. I don't know what that means. But I think the value should be at least maybe double that. I don't know. I think, he threw for 38 touchdowns his rookie year, only 25 last year, which is why I think the number is so low. But in comes Kellen Moore, the former Boise State standout, and definitely one of the league's best young minds right now. I think he'll be in the mix for head coaching jobs within the next 2 or 3 years. In 4 seasons as offensive coordinator, his unit has ranked overall as number 2 in the NFL in total offense and scoring. Okay, so 391 net yards per game and 27.7 points per game. Dallas offense, when he led them, was also the NFL's 4th best passing offense, 26.4 net yards per game. And then they were 7th in the league in rushing, which doesn't matter here. But I think what you really need to know, what really stands out to me, is that when he coached in 2018, he had 12 different Pro Bowl selections. Well, not that year, but I guess over the last 4 years. But he tutored Dak Prescott, who has been basically trash since he left. And in 2021, he was the league's best offense ever. 407 net yards, and they scored 31.2 points per game. And that led the league. Or 2 years before that, in 19, he led the league with 431. So I think, you get this guy coming in who likes to take shots, likes to throw the ball down the field. I think they've got a healthy wide receiver room. Hopefully it can stay that way. Austin Eckler, he can dump it to him. He's going to get some yak. I think 30 touchdowns. The only thing you really have to worry about there is Eckler vulturing some touchdowns. But over 29.5 minus 120, smash that. Absolutely. That's going to hit. I'll be shocked if it doesn't. What do you boys think about that?
Yeah,
You going to take that?
I'm definitely taking that one for sure.
I'm also taking that one. You got
that one.
Keenan Allen, you got Austin Eckler for dump off passes, you got Mike Williams, and you got the new rookie Quentin Johnson, which has been lighting it up in training camp. So I like it. Who's their tight end there? I kind of drew a blank.
I think it's Everett.
Okay.
Everett
I can't remember.
and
He's all right.
some Parham.
Mm-hmm. Donald Parham.
Big Donald, yeah, he's huge. He's like 6'7".
Too much fantasy football for me.
I'm taking that bet tonight. I like it.
Ooh, lock it in. Well, just save that thought. I got a juicier one for you. Okay. When I was on there looking up some quarterback stuff, because I think there's two quarterbacks in the middle of drafts that are really going to stand out to people. One of them I got in our league, Lamar. I think he's the real deal, and I think they're going to throw the ball way more than they ever have, and that's going to open up his ability to run the ball. I think he could go for 4,000 throwing and 1,000 rushing. So I looked at some of his stuff, but I didn't like the odds. And so as I was looking at awards, MVP, Coach of the Year. I landed on Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, Damar Hamlin is the odds-on favorite. But I'll be honest with you, I think he already won Comeback Player of the Year just because he came back last year. And that is, like all jokes aside, that is an absolutely incredible moment. But did anybody know who Damar Hamlin was before that happened?
No, he was a second string guy on the team.
I love the guy. Glad he's okay. Truly.
Yeah.
But minus 285, he is like, you're losing money. You're just losing money. It's not a good idea. But again, like I just mentioned, you can get Lamar at Comeback Player of the Year for plus 2,500 or Cooper Kupp at plus 3,000. So again, I'll let you boys do the math on that because I really have no idea. But if you put $10 on that, what does that do for you?
$10 on Lamar would get you 250, and then Cooper would get you $300. So it's definitely it's $10. Don't buy that Chick-fil-A meal and just
And invest in your
spend it on
future.
that. Exactly.
Well, I'm going to say that you always have these every single year. The books are hoping does not happen. So let's say he doesn't play or he retires. That is probably out the door. He'll get some SPs and some like awards, and like everybody's still like, man, that was a crazy thing that happened, and like Josh already said, we're happy he's okay, and it was a great story. But if he doesn't play, can you still give it to him? I don't really know, especially if Lamar Jackson or some of these other players are out here and they didn't do so well the season before, and then they are on the field playing and they're playing lights out. So I could see that happening for sure. But I'm gonna go. So I have a bet that is more of like a fun bet here than a serious one. So tread lightly with this one. The reason why I wanted to go with something like this is because you can still root for your team, Josh, to win the Super Bowl. But
that's very pointed.
Well, I'm just and Tinsley's team is on here as well. We all three can root for our team and still cash our bet, even if it doesn't. Let me explain why. First time Super Bowl winners, winner, yes, at plus 190. So you get plus money here. And Tinsley can root for his Jags. Oh, darn, they didn't get there, but there's still a chance. Or the Titans. Oh, darn, they didn't get there, but there's still a chance because you have this list of teams that I'm about to list off. By the way, in order of what I think their chances of getting to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, is the Cincinnati Bengals,
Mm.
Josh already talked on the Buffalo Bills, so he can root for them and still get plus money. Vikings, the Jaguars, the Chargers. He just talked about Justin Herbert. The Detroit Lions, which we'll see how if they're real or not. The Tennessee Titans rooting for my own team. And then it gets a little, but we're still rooting for them, right? You always have that surprise team. But the Browns, the Panthers, the Texans, Falcons, Cardinals. Back to like the buy sell, the last one, who cares for those last 4 or 5 teams, in my opinion. But I think you have all of these bets and then you're rooting for something and it already is dead like right off the bat. At least this one you have a little bit of chance that, oh my gosh, my team is playing not so well and we're halfway through the season, they're not even going to get to the playoffs or the chance again. Well, I can still root for one of these others. So it's more like a fun. I don't really have like statistics for this one, but I'm going to put just a little bit of money on it because I feel like the odds are pretty good. We were talking about like betting the field or Georgia. This is kind of like betting the field or a list of like 4 or 5 good teams, in my opinion. And then if there is like a surprise down at the bottom, you have those to root for as well. What do you guys think?
I like having two of the top AFC teams that are like their odds are the highest. You've got both of them in your back pocket with a few other teams that are long shots. So getting it plus money is definitely it's worth it. It's fun. It's something fun to root for.
And I already talked about the NFC like road to the Super Bowl for the NFC. You got the Vikings that could possibly get there, in my opinion. And like we talked about, if the Lions are like a surprise team, everybody's rooting for them. Could they actually get there? We don't know. But Dan Campbell, coach of the year possibly this year. Everybody's rooting for him. So we'll see. What do you think, Josh?
I think, if you just look at raw stats, that's 12 out of 32 teams. That's like 30 something percent of the league. That alone is pretty good odds. Then you look at how many of those teams are actually really good and maybe legitimate contenders in their conference. I think that's a great one. I wouldn't fade you on this one.
Hey, I appreciate it. It took me long enough. Actually,
Yeah,
last week was my victory. I did
that was
not.
a good one.
Yeah. All right, Tens. What is your bet? Your
All right,
future?
so I've got two. They're the same thing. So I'll give these and then we'll wrap it on up. But I've got the Packers over 7.5 wins at -120. Or if you're like me and you need to see a little plus money sometimes to make these futures worth it, you can bump them up to over 8.5 wins at +165. The
Mm.
reason I went with this bet here, and I love moving the lineup. If you don't feel super great, it's -120 is still okay. But +165, I think, is more fun and worth having money sitting tied up in your account. They did lose, they lost Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and lost a few other pieces: Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, and a few guys on defense. But they re-signed pretty much all their special teams aces, and I think they had one of the best drafts in this NFL draft this year. Drafting Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa, which I don't know if you know this or not, but Iowa defensive ends, all they do is just play in the NFL for 15 years and rack up stats, and they're just great pros. Um, they also drafted who I think is the best tight end in this draft class, Luke Musgraves. He's already penciled in as a starter. He's been showing out at training camp. And then they also drafted Jaden Reed, slot guy from Michigan State, who is a big time player there. So, I mean, they drafted 3 starters. 3 guys are going to start day one. I know they're rookies, but they all come from big programs, and I think they're going to do well. This is all going to come down to Jordan Love. Can Jordan Love be a quality NFL quarterback? I think he can. The head coach comes from the Shanahan tree. It's very QB friendly. Jordan Love played the same kind of system in college, and they have pretty good weapons. I think Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs had their rookies. They had their rookie mistakes last year, but they've learned the system and are going to be playing with more confidence this year instead of just trying to cram in learning something new. They've got 2 great veteran running backs, a good offensive line, and their schedule is pretty. It's got some cupcakes on it. I don't think the Bears are head and shoulders above the Packers. I don't think the Lions are either. I'm not buying all the Lions hype. The Vikings are always due to just choke and give a game away that they shouldn't. So I mean, it's a weak division in my opinion. They also get the Falcons, Raiders, Rams, Giants, Bucks, and Panthers.
Mm.
Those are all teams with quarterback questions. Just in general, there's just a lot of weak spots right there, and they have one of the best home field advantages come late in the season playing in Lambeau.
Mm.
So 9 wins, you're looking at a barely above 500 season. I see where that's definitely worth some coins, tossing some coins on there. So that is my future Friday. I had to go plus money hunting a little bit. I can't just keep giving out these minus 100s. You know, I had to give something.
I think we'll know about Jordan Love real quick. I think it's going to be one of those where we'll see it because we haven't really. It's like Trey Lance has not really had a chance,
Yeah,
so we'll know. We'll see what happens.
What do you think? Buy or sell, Love? Just real quick.
I'm buying. I'm buying on him. I think he's going to be good.
Mason?
I'm gonna say sell.
Oh,
I just haven't seen anything. I'll have to change it. I don't know if
we
I'm
didn't
allowed
see
to.
anything from Aaron Rodgers either, and he took over for Brett Favre, and here we
There we
are.
are. You're right. I'm gonna say sell. I might end up regretting that, but I'm gonna say sell. What do you think?
I'll sell. I'll sell too. I'm in the same boat, but it is close. I want to believe, and I think he's definitely got some of the talent. What was he doing in the waiting? That's always the question. What do you do with the waiting? So we're gonna find out. Reports are he's looking really good. Looks like there might be 3 really solid quarterbacks in a row there for Green Bay, but only time will tell.
So before we wrap up the episode, I actually teased it at the beginning. Josh, let's hear it. Your thoughts on myself,
Look,
Mason.
here's
Let's
here's
go
what
ahead.
here's here's what I want you to know as we wrap
Okay.
this thing up, and we leave the people, feeling good with a little bit of banter right before we leave. Here's what I want you to know. Okay,
Okay. I'm ready.
all I'm looking for in life is one thing, and one thing
Okay.
only. I need somebody to love me the way you love Sandra Bullock. I gotta have that, bro. The way you just off the top of your dome rattled off her top 3 performances, the way you stood up for her, like I've never heard you stand up for anything in your entire life. That's what I need, bro. I need somebody like that in my life.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm here for the people of Sandra Bullock. I will say that I'm pretty disappointed in myself as the president of the fan club. I forgot Miss Congeniality. How
Yeah,
dare I do that?
yeah,
Yep,
I
of
agree there.
course. But I lost a couple nights of sleep over that. But I'm okay now. I will put Bird Box out of that was the only one I could think of at the time. I'm going to be honest, but it's still in the top 5. But we're putting Miss Congeniality in there. And all is well with the Sandra Bullock fan club. Everybody respects me now. It's okay. But
Yeah, I
yes,
mean, this
I fought for
podcast
her.
yeah, this podcast is brought to you by Sandy herself, Mrs. Bullock. And one day the owners are going to come onto this podcast, and I just want to be a part of it when she does.
Well, awesome. We'll make sure to get you back on here. That concludes our episode. Thank you, Josh, for being a part of it. You truly were the next guy up for
Mm.
this podcast. Everybody out there, make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment on all of our platforms where you listen to the podcast. Check out our social medias. We put stuff out there either every day or every other day. So make sure to vote, get involved, put some comments down on there. But we appreciate you guys listening. Josh, any final words?
No, just thanks for the opportunity. Had a great time hanging out with you boys. I've been listening to you since the original day one back in the
Hey,
day. Yeah, but
well,
no, I'm excited to see where y'all go.
we appreciate having you on. If at any time that one of us is not available, please have your phone on, and we'll give you a call.
I'm the
So
next guy up.
next
Hey,
guy up,
Next
baby.
guy up.
that may be the best title to have for this podcast. I am the
Hey.
next guy up. So
There we go.
I'll stay in my lane and play that role. Thank you guys
All
for
right,
having me.
absolutely. We appreciate everybody listening. We look forward to basically having you guys listen to us for the Messing Around Monday episode. That's the podcast. That's the episode.
See ya. Titans suck.